Hi there, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time since I have scrapbooked a 12 by 12 layout, but today is the day that I'm going to be doing that. So I have this photo here of my two daughters. This was taken in June or very late May. I think it would have been June actually. Yes, it was definitely after June. It is a picture of my oldest daughter who went to the public gardens for some outdoor graduation photos in lieu of being able to actually walk across the stage, or this is her grade 9 graduation, or to do the actual prom, which she had planned to wear this dress to, but then of course, like many things, got canceled for 2020. So I really wanted to scrapbook this photo of my two girls. I have other photos from that same photo shoot here that I plan to scrapbook as well, of her with her friends, just a couple of different, and then this is a different photo shoot from slightly earlier when we weren't allowed to get in big groups, so it was just 4 of them plus my husband, who's the photographer. There was a limit of 5 gathering at that point. So these two are from the smaller photo shoot in the woods, and this one is from the larger photo shoot with the big group of girls at the public gardens. Today I'm only going to be scrapbooking this photo, but I have a couple of other photos here, including some of these. I'm not going to scrapbook all of these, but some of these, and also a holiday photo from the year before, and some photos of my other daughter here as well that I would like to scrapbook. So I'm going to keep these photos. I only brought these out because I'm going to keep them in mind as I select a kit. Now, what I've decided to do, because it's been a long time since I've scrapbooked, I've decided to select a kit based on this photo, but that would apply to those other photos as well. And it's going to be a kit that's entirely made up of scraps and leftovers. So I will not be opening any new packages to scrapbook this next bunch of photos that I plan to scrapbook. So I don't know if it'll be 2 layouts or 3 layouts, but I want a kit basically of embellishments is all that I have to pick from my stash, because I'm going to be using entirely scraps from my paper scraps, and so no full-size pieces of paper other than the back piece of paper. So the 12 by 12 backing that the layout sits on, that will be my only piece of actual 12 by 12 new paper. So I have my stickers arranged on my Clip It Up. These are all of my packages of stickers, and I have it organized by category. So I'm starting with the words category. I'm looking for sticker sets that, in particular, I'm looking for sticker sets that I might be able to completely use up and get rid of the packaging. So I sped this up a little bit and decided to narrate it because otherwise this video is just going to be a little bit too lengthy. So I'm just having a look here through all of my categories of stickers. I'm really emphasizing the word stickers because I have a lot of sets of those that I feel like I could use up, or at least consolidate into smaller numbers of packaging. So I'm just looking for anything that I think might work from a design perspective as well as from a storytelling perspective. And so I'm keeping in mind the colors of those photos that include lots of kind of pastel colored dresses, but also those bright blue dresses are there too. I'm not sure if you noticed that when I was reviewing the photos. So I'm just keeping in mind summer themed things and anything about friends and girls and those sorts of words are and concepts, I guess, are what I'm looking for. So I went from my words category to my images category, and now I'm looking through my journaling category and just pulling out anything that I think I might be able to use up and that I think might work. I really love storing my stickers this way. I used to store my stickers differently. I used to store them kind of all lined up in a drawer that I could just kind of like leaf through, and they were all on their sides, kind of the same way that I store my thickers, which you'll see a little bit later on in the video. But I really do like them like this, and I do have a video about my Clip It Up and how I have it set up. So you can check that out. I'll put an info card right here. So these are actually new, but I decided to grab them anyways. I thought because they're just the kind of thing that I'm not going to use I'm not going to have much of a use for those kinds of very fancy embellishments. And so since these are fairly formal photos with the girls in fancy dresses, I thought I'd pull those out, even though it's kind of breaking the rules if I do use them. I thought I might use it as a reward for if I can finish some sticker sets, then that'll allow me to use that sticker set. I'm not going to not use it just because it breaks the rules if it makes my page look good. But spoiler alert, I won't be using it on this page. So as you can see, I picked out a fair number of sticker sets here, and so I'm actually just kind of narrowing it down a little bit to think about which of these I might want to use for this particular layout, because I picked stickers for all of the layouts that I think I might make. And what I'm doing there is anything that I'm taking the clip off of, I'm committing to not putting back on my Clip It Up. So that means I'm going to use as much of those as possible, hopefully maybe use all of them. And then just kind of toss anything that I won't be using, because you know, like sometimes you just have too many things in your storage and it just becomes cumbersome. So the only thing that I'm using that's new is a fresh sheet of 12 by 12 paper for my background. And as you can see, I took out a white piece and I also took out a craft piece because I wasn't sure which one I would want. Now these are some leftover embellishments from some old Studio Calico kits. There are some that I haven't opened yet, but then those butterfly ones have been opened, so I thought I might use those. And I haven't quite decided yet which background I'm going to go with, but I was just using the white paper just to hold the space. Now I'm going to use all of my other paper is going to be from my scraps. So I'm just showing you this is where I do my scrapbooking, and then right behind me in this red shelf, so in those Razcogs are my stickers and stamps, my letter stickers, but right where I'm pointing right now is where I keep my scrap paper, which is a little bit different than the way I used to store it. I'm pretty sure that I haven't done a video on this yet, but I think I will because I really love how I'm storing my paper these days. So what I did was I just went over to that bookshelf and I grabbed my bags of paper, and I just changed my angle here so that you can see a little bit better. In each bag, so it's an extra large zipper seal bag from the dollar store. I cut off the top and then I put something stiff, and for me I had these Cropper Hopper folders that you just saw me pull out a second ago. Those are what keep it stiff, but if you didn't have those, you could easily put a large sheet of chipboard like the kind that come in kits and in scrapbook collections. That would do a pretty good job of holding it firmly in place too. What would happen if you didn't use something stiff is the whole bag would be a little bit more saggy and they wouldn't stack well in a bookshelf. So I have picked out a couple of my baggies of scraps. I have my brown and beige scraps that I already sorted through, my black and white and gray scraps, then I just pulled out some from my bag of purple scraps, and then the last bag that I have here are my blue scraps, although really I think some of these look more green. It's hard to draw the line between where like mint green kind of blends into a light turquoise. Anyhow, I do my best with that. I've always struggled with the green-blue border. I never know what to call certain colors. Also, there's a blue in there that looks a little more purpley as well, but anyhow, it's gonna fit with. So all of these are potential papers that I might use as either main patterns or designs on my pages, or potentially some accents, especially with some of those blacks and neutrals. This purple baggie that I got from a stationery store probably 10 years ago that I just stuck in with my purple scraps, and it's been there ever since. I thought it was a pretty good thing to use in this layout. Now, here I'm going to make a heart, and I'm trying to save a little strip of this paper because I really do like the pattern of that paper, so I don't necessarily want to kind of like cut a heart that takes up the whole size of the paper. And I'm just kind of, as you can see, just roughing it, doing it by hand, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I folded it in half so that it would be at least symmetrical. And my plan was actually, the reason that I drew it on the back side was that my plan was that the heart would be that other design, like the back side. But after I opened it, I kind of liked this pink instead. So this is what I'm going to go with. And I'm just using my Tim Holtz Distressing. thing. What is that called? I think it's just called a distress tool. I really like that. It has a whole bunch of little blades inside of it, but they're kind of in little slits, so you can't cut yourself with it, at least not very easily. I've been using mine for years and have never cut myself, so I'm pretty clumsy. So if I haven't cut myself, then it's pretty safe. So this is what I'm thinking, is that this heart will become my back layer, and then I'll put some other layers in between the heart and my photo, and that'll be that's a layout design that I've used several times throughout my scrapping career, I guess, and I really like it. It's something that I come back to, not all the time, but maybe once every 3 or 4 years I tend to pull one out that looks like this. Now I'm pulling off a piece of this vellum, this printed vellum that I had in my scraps, and I had it out already along with the photos because I had used this in Project Life not too long ago, and I just wanted to not have it go back to my stash. I just wanted to use it instead of putting it back. So I'm just taking this navy blue photo or paper to frame my photo in and to map my photo. I like the boldness that gives, kind of like the contrast between the white border that's already on the photo and then that really dark pattern paper. It just works really well for me in my mind. Now, sometimes when I'm scrapping a vertical photo, I will put strips behind it like this. And it kind of depends on how I want to set up my page, but in this case, I don't think I'm going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to use some of the papers that I have on hand here to just add a couple of layers behind my photo, and just very subtle layers in this case. Before I commit to a design here, I'm just familiarizing myself with what stickers I have and which ones might work with this photo. Just because I'll decide on my papers based on what I think I might be putting in, and I'll talk about that as I go along. I felt like I needed some more blue, so I just went over to my Clip It Up and grabbed one more set of stickers, and I also grabbed my blue paper pack again, my blue scrap paper pack, and I just picked out a couple more blues just because Sophie's shirt has some pretty vibrant blue in it, and I thought it might be nice to pick that up and have it come into my layout. Now I'm going to use some of these dimensional adhesives from Stampin' Up. I really love these. They make my scrapbooking so much easier, and so I use them for lift more than for adhesive, and so I just pre-cut a couple of little strips of that because I use even the outside edges of those because they're a little on the pricey side, and so I like to make sure that I'm using them entirely to justify the cost. Now, I am kind of trying to decide here what exactly I'm going to do. So I feel like this heart is a little bland. In retrospect, I don't think I like the pink side of this heart as much as I like the patterned side of the heart, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. At this point, I'm still going with the pink heart behind the layers. So this circle paper that I'm using right here is from the Scraptastic Kit Club. It's obviously fairly old because the Scraptastic Kit Club hasn't been around for a number of years, but I used to be on the design team there, so that is, I have a ton of their beautiful paper from before they stopped making it. And so as you can see, I'm just sticking those adhesive pieces in between my layers, and I'm not even pulling off the backing. They're just there to hold the space. And in fact, I don't like to pull off the backing because once you do, then it's stuck there. And sometimes I like to peel apart my layers and stick more things in between them. So that allows me the option of doing that. Now I do want more of this polka dotted paper. I find that this paper adds a bit of boldness to the layers. And so I wanted this piece to be just a little bit smaller than the other piece. And I'm just going to add a little bit more lift. And then to add even more texture here, I'm just going to pull up the edges. And I'm still thinking that I'll be using that vellum as an anchor. And I think I'm just kind of thinking about, see, the heart is just not doing it for me. So I thought maybe I can add another layer behind the heart that's just like a bolder color. I think that the heart is too plain and too light and not different enough from the craft background paper that I'm using here. So obviously there's a big chunk out of that purpley blue paper, which is by Fancy Pants. No, it's by Pink Fresh Studio. And so I'm just going to play around a little bit with how I might be able to layer these two things together and not have it look too weird that my bottom heart is missing a big chunk. So I'm going to try to make them match each other as best as I can by going ahead and distressing the edges on this one too. Now that first paper that I distressed, the one that the pink heart is made out of, that's Fancy Pants paper, and it's a really beautiful texture paper. It almost has a fabric feel to it, and when you distress that paper, it's like the edges become like cotton. They're so nice and soft. This paper doesn't distress quite that nicely, but it's still, because it's white core paper, it's gonna look fine, the two of them together. So, you know, that looks a little bit better, and I feel like I could do something about that chunk that's missing from the bottom, maybe put my title there, or who knows what, or even just kind of layer it down a little bit more like this. And so this is what I'm going with. I'm going to go ahead and stick this down because once, you know, like when I fuss around with something enough and finally get it in place, I'll just glue it right then so that I know that I've got it the way that I decided. Drinking some coffee today. I actually quit coffee back in March of last year, so it's been a full year since I've been drinking coffee. I do still have it very occasionally, but maybe once a month or once every 2 or 3 months. So today was a bit of a treat. Oops, there was a staple in that bag and I almost damaged my scissors by trying to cut right through it, but I stopped as soon as I felt the resistance. I really love the pinked edge of this envelope, and I was hoping to get to use it here. I feel like this is a beautiful color scheme right here, like that indigo kind of blue from the heart behind, and then that purple and the pink. I think that that's a really gorgeous color scheme, but that is not the color scheme that is going to end up being on this layout. I've got a ways to go before we come around to what this page is actually going to look like. None of my pages are ever prepared ahead of time, or like I never have a sense of what direction I'm going to go, unless if I say so at the beginning of the video. So this is pretty typical for me. I might start off thinking that a page is going to go one way and then big U-turn and it goes a different way, but that's okay. See, what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of experimenting with a lot of different things because I feel like something isn't working here. See, maybe I should have done that. I actually really do like the other side of that pink heart, but it felt like it was too busy for me. And I think that if I do that in the future, I would use more neutral layers behind my photo. So because the layers behind my photo are so bold, I felt like I couldn't really do that. Now, here's more paper from the Scraptastic Kit Club that I'd love to get on this page because I feel like the combination of the purpley pink and the blues, even though those are more of a turquoise than what Sophie's t-shirt has, I just feel like this is more of what I want this layout to look like. So let's just scrap the whole heart idea. And I did keep the hearts. I didn't throw them away. I don't think I threw them away. No, I know I didn't. And so they might show up on one of the other layouts that I plan to do. But let's just start all over again. I mean, I've got my layers behind my photo, so it's not entirely all over again. Now, what I'm thinking here is maybe I might do one of those half and half layouts where you know, you kind of use pattern paper on the bottom half and then cardstock on the top half. And then I thought that's too boring. Let's switch it up a little bit and we'll do a diagonal cut. So the bottom half on the diagonal has pattern paper and then the rest of it is all the craft cardstock. I don't know, I just felt like the other layout was just feeling too boring, or I don't know what it was. Also, I haven't scrapbooked a 12 by 12 page in at least a year, I think. I don't know, I didn't check when the last time was, but it was a very long time ago. So I'm a little bit out of practice and feeling like I'm kind of bumbling around. There's two things. One is I'm used to scrapbooking with kits, and kits are pretty easy to scrapbook with because someone else has already chosen the stuff to go together. So I thought about this, adding that little piece of vellum, and I checked it out. It was worth trying, but I really didn't end up liking it like that. I just feel like I need something to add some boldness to it. So I added a layer of black cardstock. That always punches up a page, just adding a bit of solid black someplace. It really helps. Also, I was pretty sure that I was going to use a piece of black acrylic that says the word best or something on it. So that black brings that into the mix. Now, at the last second, I decided let's add a piece of that other pattern paper up here. So basically now it looks like there's this strip of craft across the center on the diagonal. I like that. So again, I keep thinking I should put something between the pattern paper and the craft background, but I'm not going to do that actually. What I've decided to do is to outline the outside of this page. I'm just triple outlining it really nice and fast to get smooth lines that aren't too wobbly. They don't have to be perfect though. And man, I'm trying so hard to get that strip on there, but nope, that'll have to be on a different page. So I think I'm done with the pattern paper at this point, and now I'm ready to start figuring out how I'm going to embellish this page. And I'm feeling much better about the page right now than I was back when I was trying to use those two hearts. So I'm just refamiliarizing myself with the stickers, especially now that I've changed course. Here's that best piece of acrylic that I knew I had. I'm thinking best sister friends, like BSF. And then I saw these rubber pieces from Ali Edwards, and I really wanted to use those. And look, see that pink with the umbrella? It really matches. It doesn't look in this video, but in real life, that matches the purple in the pattern paper. It's not an exact match, but it's a very close. So again, it doesn't look like it on the video, but maybe in the photos at the end, you'll be able to tell. So I'm messing around here with some ideas about my title here, and if I use that bold block letter of best, I'm thinking I'd like the rest of the title to maybe be something a little bit more scrolly. Now, I switched my two pieces of rubber because I felt like I needed something kind of stronger down in that bottom right-hand corner. So that umbrella, obviously it wasn't raining that day, so the umbrella is going to have to be covered somehow. So I'm just playing around with what do I have to cover the umbrella with. And after trying a few things, I came up with this sticker from crepe paper. And I just stapled it onto the rubber because I was pretty sure that no type of adhesive that I have would be likely to actually stick that very well onto the rubber piece. So that's what I went with, and I like how it looks. And I'm just going to have it so that it peeks out from the layers. And so I just had to check the date on my photo because I had been thinking all this time that this photo shoot happened in June, but it actually happened in July. Well after school ended. School ended quite a bit early because of the pandemic. So they did do online learning from I think 2 weeks after March break was supposed. So they got 3 weeks for March break instead of 1. And then school went back in, but it was a virtual school for another couple of weeks. And then I think school ended on, June 5th or something, which normally we would go right until the end of June around here. But I don't think many students were doing much school anyway, so they just ended it. Yeah, I think that they were mindful of people's mental health and the fact that people were thinking about more than a lot of things other than just school. So they just let them, the students and the teachers, just end, which was nice. So now I had to pull out some of those dimensional adhesive that I put in because they're causing now too much bulk, because these rubber pieces, although they're fairly thin rubber, they still have quite a bit of dimension to them. Just going to shift that down a wee little bit to give me a little bit more balance. And I am going to put something behind that circle, and I feel like I need to repeat a circle element up there in the corner where I'm pointing. So, and I also want some of that bright pink color up in the top corner as well. So here I'm just focusing on balance, and I want to anchor this circle that kind of juts out into the background paper and make it feel a little bit more like it belongs. So I'm adding a sticker of like an outline flower, and then I added another outline flower sticker on the other side just to repeat that. And that just kind of makes both of those circles feel a little bit less conspicuous, a little bit more blended in. And now I'm just kind of looking for different things that I might want to layer in here. And what I'm looking for specifically is something pink, that brighter pink. Here I found a little sticker that is that bright pink, and that's small enough, it's the right scale to put up in the top corner, but I'm still looking for something for here. Now this isn't pink, but I do like this here. So it's a little square sticker with some words written on it. It says, "This makes me happy." And so I just trimmed that down so I could have that sticking out of there too. And again, that just gives me something to blend in with that circle that was peeking out a little bit conspicuously there for a while. And now here I found another thing that was that bright pink. This is a tag sticker, and I like how that looks. I'm just gonna play around a little bit with it. So I took both of the pieces out so that I could play around with it. These stickers by Crepe Paper are not all that sticky, so it's easy to pull them out if you change your mind or you want to kind of experiment with them in different places. They're not going to rip whatever was behind it. They're basically just kind of tacky. They're not all that sticky. So now I'm going to place that right there so that it's peeking out, and I'm going to layer it with some more of those dimensional adhesive pieces from Stampin' Up. And that just holds the tag out from the page. And when you use those dimensional adhesive to create lift, what it does is it casts a nice gray shadow on your elements. Now remember I said that I was looking for a circular element to put up in the top to make a third, because I've got those two other circles there, so I want a third circle, but also I need more up there, so I'm kind of playing around with what. And then I saw this July piece, and these photos were taken in July, so I like the idea of getting that July piece of acrylic out of my stash because it's been there for many, many years. I've had that one for a long, long time. I think it came in a Project Life kit, maybe from the Hip Kit Club. So when I pulled that out, I also pulled out a couple of other opaque black chips so that I can spread them around on my page. And I love that that gives a page quite a bold look when you use black accents like that. I still don't know exactly what my title is going to be, but it's going to start with the word July. And I'm mindful of the fact that I don't have much space there, so it's going to have to be a small one. Now I'm going to take a look at my letter stickers here, and I'm looking for, these are my dimensional letter stickers, so all of my thickers and thicker like letter stickers are kept in this Razcog, and all three tiers are filled with letter stickers. I'm looking for the smallest letters that I have in black, and I'm also looking for block, not scripty or scrolly ones, because the July is already scripty and scrolly. So when you're mixing fonts, you want to not put too many busy scripty things together. As a general rule, of course, you can do what you want. You don't have to do what I say, but or what those rules say. But generally speaking, that looks better from a design perspective to have a combination of scripty and block letters. So although I thought about using those dimensional ones, I thought with July being so dimensional, like it's quite a thick piece of acrylic. So I decided to use a flat sticker here. I'm using these Jelly Bean Soup letter stickers that I recently used the red version in my project life. I was really loved them, so I pulled these out again, this time in black. And lo and behold, there was quotation marks in this sticker set, which usually there aren't quotation marks in this kind of letter sticker, which is part of the reason why I was looking at my thickers, because they're more likely to have quotation marks. Now, even though I specifically loved the fact that there were quotation marks, once I started composing this title, it became apparent to me that I was not going to have room for the quotation marks. There's room for the second one, but there's not room for the first one. Not if I'm going to nest it like this, and I really like my titles to be nested and cozy into one another like this. So let's just put that quotation mark back, and because they're so hard to come by, I will make sure that that gets put properly back on the sticker set so that it's there if I need it again. Then I just use my tweezers to try to straighten out those letters and get them straight before I burnish them down with a bit of pressure, because then the glue kind of really grabs and they're less movable after that. I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi Adhesive, which is my favorite adhesive for gluing non-paper to paper. And with liquid adhesive, you can wiggle it around a little tiny bit. Just try not to do it too much or the glue will show oozing around the edges. And try to be as sparing as possible with glue on the backs of acrylic pieces, because there's no place for it to go when it flattens out other than out around the edges. So be very, very sparing with it. I entertained the idea of grabbing a piece of blue chipboard, so I pulled out my blue chipboard pieces, but then I quickly decided not to add a different texture to this page. It already has plenty going on. And I didn't want to be in a position where I've added chipboard to the top and now I feel like I need to add chipboard to the bottom. Not that you have to do that, but that would be something that I would want to do. So now I do want to say a few words about this page. So I'm going to use my hot off the press journaling template here. This is a very old scrapbooking supply that I recently rediscovered. Recently meaning about a year ago, after it had been packed away with some stuff I barely used for a while. I'm going to do my journaling, which says, and I'm just journaling off the top of my head, which is usually what I do. Due to the pandemic, Liv's grad, prom, and class trip were all canceled, but when restrictions lifted, we did a grade 9 grad photo shoot at the public gardens. And because I was just kind of composing it on the fly, I didn't know how many lines I would need, so I just kind of added a few and then wrote and then added a few more and then wrote some more. It is nice to get your own handwriting on your pages if you can tolerate it. I know some people really hate their own handwriting and would rather do printed journaling or typed journaling, but I really love the personal touch on my own pages. So then I just went back and underlined with my marker, and now I was going to outline this, but my hands were way too shaky, and so I felt like I kind of ruined that sticker, which was one of the few things in the right color blue that I had, and it had a real circle-y feel to it, so it was kind of meeting both of my purposes, so my need for something bright blue and my need for something circle-y. So now I'm kind of back to the drawing board with trying to find something for this top piece. So I thought maybe we'll forget about the idea of the circle, because that flower has a bit of a circle-y feel to it, right? And I'm just kind of racking my brain here and revisiting some of these stickers and not really finding anything. And I thought about even cutting out one of these, but they're not quite the right color of blue. And so then it's Vicky Bouton comes to the rescue, because I noticed I do store my die cut pieces by color, but this I still had in the collection. So I hadn't sorted these yet by color, and I noticed that there was some of the right color blue. So I pulled out this Today circle from one of Vicky Bouton's collections. I don't remember which one it was. And now I have to decide which way am I going to angle this. And then once I use that, it ends up covering up the only pink that's up here in this pattern paper. So I'm actually going to cut out a different, yeah. Now the edge isn't ripped and I want it to have a ripped edge. So it looks like it kind of balances off with the ripped edge on the other side. So I'm just going to, I'm not usually this particular about my pages, but maybe it's because I haven't scrapped in a while. I just want this one to look a certain way. So I'm taking the time to go ahead and fix this the way that I want it to be. This gets me 2 pieces of that purpley color from the floral pattern on this pattern paper from Scraptastic. And there's no blue up there anymore, but that's okay because I'm putting that blue tag up there. Right like that. And then we'll add the pink, the bright pink circle as well. Not circle, but the flower. So I've decided to use my stapler. I'm just using my stapler going vertically because I used vertical on the other side, and I like to keep my vertical staples vertical, or I don't like to mix vertical and horizontal staples on the same page. That's just a little personal quirk. It's not, most people probably wouldn't even notice that, but that's just my preference. Now I want to write something in the white space here. I feel like it should have something written on it. And so what I ended up writing was less than or equal to 10. And I was just going to put that. And then I thought, it's kind of like it needs some context. So then I added the words people allowed so that it's kind of clear. It's right above the place where I talked about restrictions lifting. So I think that that'll make sense in the future, I hope. Now, one thing that's making me a little bit twitchy here is that my journaling goes horizontal and then that little caption goes diagonal, and I don't mind the diagonal on the today circle, but once I added the writing and the writing is going 2 different directions, that kind of bothers me a little bit. But I've decided to take a nice deep breath and just let it go. And it feels good to let those kinds of things go sometimes. So I'm just adding some enamel dots here. Pardon me. And I basically want this to be a little collection of 3, like the asterisk and then the 2 dots. But no matter how I place them, the 2 dots look like there's a straight line between them, because that's what happens when you have 2 of something. And so I decided, I'm just kind of playing around. I thought if I put this one on the edge, maybe it'll look more like a threesome. Like I wanted the 3 black elements to look like a 3. But I just couldn't make it not look like 2 and then 1, so I just took the other one off. And there we go. So now this one is done. I apologize, I forgot to include my footage where I kind of show you the close-ups in video, but here are the close-ups in photo. And you know, I'm pretty pleased with the way this one came out. It was so much fun to work on 12 by 12 again. I don't know why I had such a long reprieve from 12 by 12 layouts, but this is my jam. I don't know why I tried something else for so long without doing this, because I've really missed it. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.